On this episode of Building Men, nothing is impossible at the Circus with Marc Picard. Marc is the CEO and founder of Stupid Simple Digital Marketing, an agency specialized in personalized branding for real estate investors and for podcasters. Marc gathers more than 20 years of experience among leaders of the entertainment industry such as Cirque du Soleil as a performer, artistic director, and mindset coach. He's also a dedicated ultra runner and runs more than 14 miles a day. Marc was the inspiration behind the rebranding of Building Men, giving advice, making suggestions on our message, and even creating our new logo. If you have not done so yet, I would ask you to consider giving Building Men a 5-star rating, writing a review, and sharing this podcast with anyone you feel would benefit from the message. Welcome to the Building Men podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Meralda.
Hello and welcome to the Building Men podcast. Become the strongest version of yourself mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. This morning on the Building Men podcast, I am joined across the Atlantic Ocean by Marc Picard. Marc is he's a digital marketing coach, I believe. I believe that's what we're going to call it. Digital marketing coach, digital marketing expert. He is a ultra marathon runner, a former Cirque du Soleil performer, and I got in touch with Marc via Austin Linney. And if you follow along with the Building Men podcast, there's a large Austin Linney tree of people that I've met over the course of the last couple months via the main man, Austin Linney. So I wanted to introduce Marc Picard to the Building Men podcast. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me. I love the setup. I love you're investing so much time and energy in your social media, on your YouTube, on your podcast. You just keep improving every aspect of your project, and I highly admire that. To do a podcast like yours, it needs a lot of courage. We'll talk about it later because the topic Building Man is a very touchy subject in 2021.
Yeah.
But I just want to congratulate you to take this initiative of like helping man understanding what it means to be man, So it's very, very cool. I like to follow you around, comment stuff here and there, and very cool. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, my pleasure, and I appreciate the acknowledgement of that. It's been a long journey, and if it's funny going back through the Instagram page. I look back, I first started in July of 2020, and just the journey that it's gone on over that time. I cringe a little bit when I go back and look at what I posted initially, and even the initial podcast, and things that I really screwed up along the way. But as I look back and take that 40,000 foot view, when you look at things at a different perspective, I love that journey that I've been on. It didn't start off polished at all, and I'm still not there yet. I'm learning every single day. But I like seeing the progression of what we were able to do. So I appreciate the recognition there.
Yeah, and it's cool for you also to acknowledge the progress you've done, and go through those old posts of yours and seeing your journey, It's so cool. This is something I do quite often with whoever I meet that, hire me for digital marketing coaching or to develop themselves as a standing alone brand or something like that. I love to see the journey of the person. So to really scroll down that Instagram grid and see where that person is coming from. Oh, this is where that person got help. Or this is where he understood or she understood. This is what the audience wanted. And it's a constant evolution. There's no right and wrong on social media.
Right.
It's about, of course, there is some things you need to respect, but it's about trying, seeing the result, adjusting, trying, seeing the result, adjusting, and it's a constant evolution. And this is exactly what you do. And anyone out there that is listening to the podcast should definitely go on your Instagram, all the way down to the grid and see the whole journey. It's very inspiring.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny, as we got on the Zoom call today, and you're in Spain, correct?
Yeah, I'm near Barcelona. I live in a rural part of Catalonia. I'm in the center of Catalonia. So Barcelona is on the Mediterranean coast, and I'm like maybe 45 minutes away from the coast, in a place full of mountains, paradise for trail running.
Oh, I'm
I live
sure.
a very, very simple life. But I'm from Montreal originally. This is where my $2 accent is coming from.
It's interesting. As I was preparing for this, I mentioned my girlfriend Julie, who was actually she just was the first female guest on the Building Men podcast. I just had her on recently, and we were talking about you and your ultra marathon running and the prep work that goes into it. And I was talking to her last night. She actually did a lot of research. She said, I listened to him on this podcast, on that podcast. He's a really fascinating man. His passion is contagious when you listen to him. And I said, Julie, here's what I struggle with on a podcast. I was just very transparent. I said, Julie, what I struggle with is that opening thing. Once it gets into conversation, I'm perfectly fine. I could roll with it. It's that initial question that you're asking to kind of set the stage. And she said, well, what is your goal? And I said, I want it to just be comfortable and, like we're shooting the shit. We pull up to a bar, I have a beer, and we're just talking about things. And she said, well, what are you interested in about? I was like, what the ultra marathon piece is really interesting to me. And she goes, well, why don't you ask him about chafing? And I was like, all right, well, if we're sitting at a bar and if you're running a lot and you're a hairy dude, how do you not chafe? How do you not have your nipples be all bloody and shit like that? That's a good place to start. Let's talk about bloody nipples when you're running that like 70 miles a week. How do you avoid all that shit that you have to deal with as a runner?
I don't have the nipples issue. Like, I know it's a real thing, but that's really something I'm not struggling with. I'm losing my toenails, that's for sure. So that's a downside. Sometimes they become black and I can lose them. I don't know, maybe I'm really built for running. I don't know. And you find those all those tricks, you use Vaseline and stuff like that. I always wear tights when I run. I never run in shirt because I went running I did one long run in short in my entire life and I regretted it for months. All my balls were red, oh. and it was just I still have goosebumps thinking about it. But no, I don't struggle with those things. Maybe I'm built to run. Besides the toenail that sometimes I lose one and it's regrowing back. And
so why not start there? I mean, how many times have you been interviewed on podcasts where the first question was about your nipples?
No, but I've really made it about my balls quite quick.
Right, you did. You turned it from nipples right to balls. That's exactly.
No worries. No worries about that. It's okay.
So now we'll go back in time a little bit. One thing that was interesting, you had a vision of your life from a very young age. You decided on a very young age, here's what the track of my life, I want to work for Cirque du Soleil. That is where I want to track. I will build my life moving in that direction. Yeah. So when did you decide that? How old were you when you said that this is my dream, my goal?
8 years old. So I was 8 years old, I remember, and I was seeing the show Saltimbanco, which was the second biggest production from Cirque du Soleil. And I just simply remember looking at the clown act, which was a cowboy act, a sort of a mime act. And I said, hey, I want to do that. And since that moment, I've just organized my life around that. Since I'm 8 years old, I did a little bit of gymnastic training, but also I studied in theater and acting, all the way to the master degree, where I study more the education of the circus performer. And then, funny thing is, I was always the acting guy in the circus world and the circus guy in the acting world. So if I had to work on a production in theater, I was the circus guy. But if I had to work in the circus, I was the acting guy. So I was always some sort of a stranger in whatever environment I was evolving. And to me, Cirque du Soleil is sort of a place that you can really, really be yourself. They love hybrids like that. So it felt really natural to start performing for Cirque. I've performed about 4,000 shows as a main character at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. I lived like 8 years in Las Vegas. I was performing with Barry Griffith. I don't know if you know Barry Griffith from the WWRE podcast. I think I will put you in touch. It's a real estate mindset podcast. Very cool. He's a former pro wrestler, and whatever. Long story short, we perform together and all, and now we do business together, and it's just like a great friend. Anyways, and yeah, So funny thing, yeah. I've performed all those shows. I was one of the main characters of the show. And on top of that, Cirque du Soleil was hiring me to be some sort of an artistic consultant. So I was working on other shows I was working the human performance, the human aspect of the performance. So I was doing a lot of acting, coaching, and things like that. When I decided to retire from as a performer, I was strictly working as an artistic consultant on touring shows. So I've worked in Europe and Canada and in the US on touring shows. But there's one event that was really, really relevant to me is one day on the Strip. So if you go on the Strip, my face is everywhere. Like you see it, they still use my picture for the marketing of the show. And one day I was in my car and I saw my face on a big bus, like on a touristic bus, and huge. And I turned around and I didn't recognize myself, like literally didn't recognize myself. Like this guy was another guy. And this is where like the whole transformation process started, because it was more because when you have a dream, we live in a society where we have goals, right? It's important to have goals, and we look at we keep an eye on the results. I want to be there, or I want to make that amount of money, or I want to have that responsibility, I want to tackle that project, blah 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 blah. This is really, really great, but if you only focus on one goal, sometimes you miss the bigger picture. And I've realized that at that very moment, I've missed the bigger picture. And I sort of went back in my memory, and I was like, oh shit, wait, I'm always the guy that is like in a party, 100% sure I'm going to end up with the most depressed person of the party. And we're going to end up on a couch and talk about real shit, For some reason, a Cirque du Soleil performers trust me as some sort of a guide, So I work with them as an artistic advisor, or sometimes even as a life coach, And I realized, shit, maybe I've missed my real purpose in life, which is simply helping others growing. That's my real purpose. Right. I feel alive when other people are growing. I grow when other people grow. So after Cirque, I did all my certification to become a life coach, fucked off in India for a couple of months as well to become a yoga coach. That was a pretty funky phase of my life. But I've never really worked as a life coach. I really switched quite rapidly into digital marketing. And now, I help people developing themselves as a standing alone brand. And I use all my tools as a life coach to clarify their mind and get to the bottom of their project and their vision, So to me, digital marketing is just one tool to help someone grow.
Right.
So it's a really like you need to be careful with it's cool to set a goal, but if you 100% identify to that goal, you might be fucked at the end of the journey. Like, for example, now with COVID, a lot of Cirque du Soleil performers are having an identity crisis, because from one day to they identify the whole life. Imagine you started being a gymnast at 3 years old, and you finally made it to the best job of the dream job. You finally made it. Everywhere you go, you say you're a Cirque du Soleil performer everywhere, and then bang, all of a sudden, your identity is removed from yourself. So it's a double-edged sword, that goal-oriented mindset.
And it resonated with me when you mentioned being at a party. It's funny when I'm in a social setting, if I find that there's someone that is alone, I gravitate to that person. I need to connect with that person to help. Even if they're not looking for company, I just feel that the need to go and be with someone who might need someone to talk to, a shoulder to cry on, whatever it is. So that I resonate with that idea. And it's that coach inside of us, that thing inside of us that we want to help other people, raise their level, or even just feel more comfortable in a social situation. So I appreciate that. That's how you see yourself. And it could be in a party of 1,000 people. You will pick out that one or two people, and I need to assist them or help them along their journey.
Yeah, and that's why I really stay far away from parties, because I love real shit. I love real conversation.
Right.
I'm not a really small talk guy. I'd rather be alone, if you want to just make jokes and pretend you're stupid while you dance. I highly respect the people that have fun on the dance floor, it's okay, but I was like that at some point. Like, I'm not scared of looking ridiculous,
right,
for sure, but if you ask my wife is a really social human being. Like, she's not partying all the time, but she's really, having beers, and we're in Spain, so having beers is not an event, it's just an everyday life thing, But yeah, no, and she respects that. I'd rather be alone than being in a situation, in an environment where there's no real conversation. You know what I mean? Or people don't listen to each other, or there's no opportunity to grow, or there's no, So that's why I appreciate my life right now.
Right.
I don't live in a city. I live removed a little bit from society, and I'm totally okay with it.
Take us back a little bit on this journey. So you mentioned you were 8 years old when you decided that was what you wanted your life to be, and so you had a specific destination in mind for your life's journey. As you're going through the process, I'm sure it was a ton of training that went along with it. You basically had to track your life in that specific way. What lessons did you learn? And then I'll ask another question about your experience in schooling. But what lessons did you learn that helped you get from the time that you decided I want to be a performer in Cirque du Soleil until you actually got there? What were the lessons that you learned in school, or that you learned, life lessons that helped you get to that point?
I'm going to tell you the biggest lesson I've learned from Cirque du Soleil performers in general, because I think that's where there's more value for you. Learning gymnastics is one of those things that you learn by falling. Okay, not every sport implies automatically breaking your face, like really breaking bones and overflip and overspin. And it's, gymnastic, it's about doing mistakes all the time, and stand up and do it again. I skied a lot. I'm a really good skier. Like, I competed and all. In ski, if you fall, of course you can fall, but if you're always chasing that fall, you will have a very short career. You're going at a 60 mile an hour on a downhill. You don't want to fall, right? But maybe martial art is more similar to gymnastic, and it creates some very, very resilient human beings, excessively resilient. They know how to take a shot. They know how to deal with standing back up. We had an accident at Ka. One of our friend, another artist, died on stage back in 2015, I think, in June 2015. She died in the middle of a show, and she fell. It was a perfect storm. It was an accident. It was died on the spot. Mother of two, a good friend of mine. And after that, I was in charge of putting the act back into the show. So it was a whole reintegration process. It took a couple of months to reassess the situation, to make sure an accident like that wouldn't happen, because at CAD there's so much technology involved that a bunch of stuff needed to be reassessed. And I was representing the artist, the performers, towards the administration, and the administration towards the artist. I was a sort of the in between, making sure everybody were okay. And there's one thing that one of the performers told me that just stuck in my head. We're talking about like a Team USA gymnast. Like, we're talking like high-end gymnast, retired from the world of gymnastics, but high-end gymnast, Team USA. And, you know, a couple of months after the accident, we were eating together, and she just said, "Man, I cannot wait to get over this shit. I just cannot wait to just fucking go back on stage and just do it. Just, I cannot wait." And I was like, and the way I received that, it was like, oh my God, how rude. Someone died. How come you can, you know, on the back of my head, there was that voice, you know, how can she say that? But then I was, after that, I was like, fuck, she's damn right. Yeah, turn that page. Move forward. Yep. She was your best friend. That's okay. But you know, you're gonna grow. You turn the page, move on, evolve, next challenge. And you know, that gymnast really taught me something deep in life. I will always be grateful for what she told me. So resiliency, being resilient, the importance of being resilient is really something specific to gymnasts, yes, Cirque du Soleil performers. They are incredibly resilient. Incredibly resilient.
I mentioned my girlfriend in the beginning when we were speaking, and I just had this conversation with her this past weekend. Growing up, she rode horses competitively. And in her adult life, she was helping someone who had a former, competitive race horse, and it was this unbelievably beautiful animal. And so she starts riding this horse, and it was a horse. I've never ridden a horse before myself, but she was explaining the process to me, and you can feel their emotion as you're sitting on the animal. And she said once she got on this horse, she could tell it was anxious. It wasn't happy with her being on it, and it took off for the fence and went, screaming fast towards the fence, and then turned really quickly. She fell off and got hurt. She hit her head on the fence. She was wearing a helmet, but she was shook, and she was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't get on this. I can't ride again. And the woman she was with, she said to her, "Julie, you got to get on the fucking horse right now. You got to get back up right now on that horse. You can't let time pass, because what'll happen is you're going to go into your head, and it's going to sit there, and it's going to fester, and it's going to turn into something that it's not. Yeah. You need to get right on that horse right now." And she said, "I was so scared, but I got back on, and as soon as she did, the animal settled down a little bit, and it was a different experience." She said, "If I didn't do it right there, I don't know if I would ever get back up on a horse again." And to that point, I totally understand that. And even think about this, Marc. You're a parent. When your children experience something challenging or something difficult, I think it's our duty as parents to help them understand you're going to fall down. There's going to be moments in your life that you fall down, and you need to find it in yourself to pick yourself back up. I'm not always, you want to be there as a support net for your children, but we do our kids a disservice if we come in and solve all their problems for them. So building that resilience as a parent, I'm sure, is something that you are helping your kids with from your experience as a gymnast.
Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure. And I think one of the biggest problems in society is not accepting failure, or just being scared of failure in every aspect of their life. There's so much people that identify to their failures. You mentioned your wife on the horse. The main reason why that person told her go back on the horse is to not create, not make the failure an entity in her mind. So I think absolutely it's important to educate your children in a way that they're not scared of failure, because when you think about it, failure doesn't really exist if you make the best out of it. It's not a failure. You cannot call that a failure. Right. It's an opportunity to do it better. But we live in a problem-solving society. We love problem. We love difficult shit. We love to create those problems. And therapists really love that, because they make a shitload of money out of it.
Oh yeah,
that's a huge industry. So yeah, absolutely. You're completely right. I think it's important to also teach the children to enjoy failing as well, to not make it as much as a big deal as it is. Now, easier said than done, for sure. Like, I have twins, I'm trying my best, but yeah, and they're really different one from the other, but it is challenging, but no, not having to overprotect your children is I think it's a key success for good parenting, for sure.
I think about this.
For sure.
I try to do this with my own children from time to time. It's not a daily occurrence, but as we're sitting down for dinner, which it's an important part of my life, is that moment where we're together, we're conversing, we're not with technology. A question I'll ask frequently is, tell me something that you failed at today. Tell me not just how was your day? Good. What did you do? Nothing. Tell me something that you failed at today. And at first, I would say something like that to my children. They would look at me like I was fucking crazy. But then they started to think about it, and it's reframing the idea of failure. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's something that you found a roadblock, and you found a different way around it, or it's an opportunity to grow and become better, or become stronger, to learn something new about that experience. So now they think of failure. It's just an opportunity. That's all it is. It's a different path for a new opportunity.
That's why I became a digital marketer. I became a digital marketer out of because I was always on the side of my Cirque du Soleil career. I was always an entrepreneur. Started business at 20 years old. I was managing a business, and I always had business project on the side. And there was one project that I started in Vegas that failed massively, like massively. I put, I lost a couple of grand on it. It wasn't the end of the world, but I put so much effort in it, so much time, so much energy in it. It was crazy, and it just flopped. It didn't work. And after that, so we're back in 2015, 14, something like that. And after that, I was thinking about it. I was like, what did I miss? I found a gap in the market. I found, the best product for a problem that exists, and I was like, and I was like, oh, I underestimated social media. To me, social media, the Facebook thing, my wife will take care of it.
Right.
Well, what a waste of time. And then I was like, oh shit, I better start studying that maybe, because I think it's a survival skill. So out of my failure, I started studying digital marketing in general, branding, and I totally reoriented my life, and I retired at age 33. If only you knew how many hours I work a week, you would want to kill me. I work nothing, and I want to keep it this way. I don't want my agency to grow so much bigger. Now I'm a bit a victim of my success, because I'm starting to gain a reputation among real estate investors, podcasters, and people start to contact me. Hey, can you produce my podcast? Can you manage my podcast? Can you take care of my social media? And I'm saying no. But now I'm in a phase where I'm like, okay, I need to hire people, because if not, I'll like jack up my week to like 80 hours a week, and I want to work as less as possible. Not because I don't want to work, but because freedom is really, really important to me. So I don't want to lose my freedom just for money. You know what I mean? I have a very simple life. I've made a lot of sacrifice in my life to be able to say I've retired at 33. I don't live in luxury at all. But I have a high quality of life to my standards. But out of a failure in Vegas, I reoriented, and now I have a successful digital marketing agency. So embracing failure is just the key. There's no failure. It doesn't exist.
And it's, you reframed the idea of failure. Also, you're reframing the idea of what success looks like, sounds like, and feels like.
For sure.
As you're in that moment and you're looking at the man staring back at you on the bus billboard, and you're like, I don't recognize that man. I've gone through that experience in my life where I was looking at myself in the mirror as a principal, thinking, this is not you anymore. I don't recognize the person staring back in the glass. What am I going to do to make some significant changes in my life? And one thing that you decided to do was, I'm going to leave this, glamorous lifestyle in Las Vegas, where I am the center I am on the billboard, I am the man, I am the face behind what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And you really downsized. You changed everything. You packed up. You have 2 suitcases and a guitar, and you decide, I'm leaving this place. So talk to us about what that was like, leaving that situation where it was like you were in your profession on top of the world, and you decide, I'm going to pull out of this right now.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a process. It was a long process. So I have my twins in Vegas. So my twins are Americans. My wife was not 100% happy in Vegas because she's a very, she's close to her family, and she really liked the social life, and it was difficult for her because she was always Marc's wife. Wherever we were going, she was Marc's wife. So that's one thing we need to take in account. Like my wife wasn't 100% happy, and what it was a slow process that lasted a couple of years. You're never really ready to leave your W-2 job, whatever it is, because you sort of fall into that mindset of well, what would I do? Oh shit, what would I do? Like, I have a really good salary, I have my cars, I have my house, my jacuzzi, my pool, but life is not going to get any better than that, But I decided to jump because of the identity thing. I didn't want to fall into the going to work just for my paycheck type of thing. And when we landed in Spain, it was a slow process because we sort of have a minimalist lifestyle. We sort of broke down to the minimum. What do you really need to live? Like, what do you really need? When you think about it, like, walk around your house and really take the time on every freaking object that you have. Wonder, like, do you really need it? Does it make you happy for real? For real, not just on do you really need it? If you don't need it, if it doesn't make you happy, are you comfortable with the fact that you could get rid of it? Now or in 5 years, it doesn't matter, Now I can tell you that you want me to move out of the house without my furniture. Hell yeah, man, I'm going to do it. I'm not scared. All of my belongings fits in one luggage. No worries. I'm going to do it. I'm not scared. I'm not attached to my furniture. I'm not attached to anything. We have nice furniture. We don't live in a dump, but I'm not attached to it. To me, a table is just a fucking table. Right. You know what I mean? I love to have a nice table. Like, it looks good. It's fun. It makes the energy flow and all. But if life was asking me to get rid of everything again, I would do it like in a heartbeat. It's not hard. A car is just a fucking car. It's so yeah. Remember the day I moved out of my house in Vegas. I sold it with the furniture in it. That was really clear. That was like my main condition. Was like, if you want the house, you keep the furniture. Like, I'm not accepting any offer that, you keep the shit, And I remember it was Halloween, so 31st of October, and, all the kids were walking by, and I was in front of my house with, 2 luggage, 1 guitar in my car that I brought to CarMax like 2 days after because I was flying in Spain 3 days after, What a relief. What a relief. And still sometime now I feel I have too much stuff. When you really think about it, how many forks do you need in your house? How many knives do you need? How many t-shirts do you need? Like, do you really need? How many t-shirts do you need? Like, do you need all of those brands? All of this? You know what I mean? Does it really help you being a happier person and being the best of yourself? I understand sometimes it's part of your job. You need to dress well and all. Like, I understand that. But it definitely changed my perspective on luxury, on spending, for sure.
I did a podcast a couple months back, and I called it "Fuck the White Picket Fence." I lived in a spot in my life where things like that began to matter to me. What the outside of the house looked like, the stone, how the fence looked, the dishes that we had, the color of the cabinets, and as I took a step back and looked at it from a different perspective, who cares why it doesn't? In the long run, none of that really matters. And if you're spending waking hours and mental space worrying about stuff like that, you're putting your eggs in the wrong basket. You're putting things that you could be helping other people, that you could be doing something positive and productive for society. And I even used the reference of a fork, and you just mentioned a fork. It just made me laugh. That I said, who fucking cares if your fork has 3 lines or 4 lines in it because the neighbor down the street has a fork that looks nicer? It's a fork.
There's no limit to that.
Exactly.
There's no limit. If you start comparing yourself to everyone, there is no limit. You will always find someone that has more than you, that is better than you, that you will always find it. Always, I guarantee you. You will never be the best in the world. It doesn't exist. You will never be the richest man on the planet for so long. Someone will beat you again, and someone will. So there, it's a no-ending rabbit hole. You know what I mean? So I'm not 100% against buying shit, you know, but you need to be aware of it. You need to be aware that, you know, you need to be aware that if you like to have your let's say your front yard well maintained, is it because you want other to perceive you as a successful guy that takes care of everything, or it's because you enjoy the process?
Yes.
You know, personally, like I enjoy gardening, like I enjoy doing it. So you need to be more conscious about those things, because sometimes we make a lot of things for others, like, what are they going to think about me?
Yeah, it's the motivation.
Oh my God, yeah. So if you like to dress, for you to get dressed is a form of expression, you know, and you're a sort of poet of clothing, and you like to have a friend, he's a model, he just loves it. You have some expensive shit, some non-expensive shit, it doesn't matter, he just loves the action of getting dressed. What do you want me to say? It's his passion. Go for it, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you express yourself. That's a form of art that touches you. But you need to be aware that if it's to fill in a void inside your soul, then you have a problem, you know?
Because what happens is if you're doing it for a reason that's not authentic, that's truly bringing you joy, once you get that object or that item, it creates another void. I need the next thing that's going to fill that void, the next thing that's going to fill that void. It's almost like, and you mentioned even, and I'll bring it back to the Cirque du Soleil thing, you think this is where you need to be, that others perceive this is where you need to be, and you start climbing a mountain or running up a mountain, you get to the very top and the pinnacle, and you look around, you're like, this is the wrong mountain. I should be on that mountain over there, not on this one, because you're so hyper focused either on that goal, whatever it is, or what other people perceive you as. And so I'll segue into running now. Like, think about running up the mountain. Part of you living there and what you're doing is you found a spot where it's not a flat area. You're running your ass off. You're up and down everywhere. And
nothing is flat. Nothing is flat. Nothing flat doesn't exist.
It's amazing.
It doesn't exist. There's no flat at all. Like, I think and I'll need to think in feet, but like I want to say my average run is 2,000 feet of positive gain, 2,000 and a half maybe of positive gain. That's like my average run. You know, like, there's no way I can not do it. If I want to go for a longer run, or I can do a loop in my neighborhood and maybe have like a few hundred feet, but what's the point? But yeah, there's just mountain all over the place. Beautiful places to go. It's so, and here, like, Catalonia is like, the top ultra runners come from Catalonia, Italy, but in that area. Why? Because the culture of trail running is so strong, you know? Like, you run an ultra here. I don't know in America. I've never run any ultra in America. I feel, I don't know, but here, like, the city will be there and watch the departure in the morning. Like, it's an event. Like, people knows, they're going to know the biggest ultra runner. Everybody will knows Kilian Jornet. Everybody will know that guy, you know. It's the best. They all know the Nuria Picas or Pau Casar. They will always reconfirm that in their culture, you know. They just know that it's part of them. I don't know why, but yeah, it's definitely a paradise of trail running, man. It's very, very cool.
And you're mentioning the gain, the elevation gain. When you're going out for your runs, you're not going to run a 1.5 miles or a 5K. You're running 10 miles or a half marathon almost every single day.
Well, okay, so summertime for me is down season. So down season for me, usually I run a half marathon a day, about 6 days a week, more or less, you know. Now I'm in low season, so I reduce in half. So I run like a 10K, so that's like, you know, 6-8 miles, right? I think 10K, it's more or less that. a day because, man, it's so hot. It's just insanely hot. It's insane. It's like 110 degrees, and I still go out, but I don't know. It's to me it's down season. There's no like big race also during August and July. It's so my next ultra I think is in October. So yeah, I love that. I still don't know why though. I'm still it's still not clear in my head why people are attracted to ultra running, and it's definitely a question I ask to a lot of ultra runner. Why the fuck did you do this? Why?
I was going to bring it back. You talked about therapists before, and the idea of going to a therapist and the money that they're making helping people deal with their shit. You're providing self-therapy. I'm sure that's a therapeutic experience for you, and it could be an active meditative experience as well as you're running, and you're able to kind of go deep into your head and understand yourself a little bit deeper. So do you use that experience as almost like a therapeutic way to be active and to meditate?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. We could define a little bit meditation. We could get into that. I don't think it's a way to get into your head. I think it's a way to shut your mind, and actually not being in your head, because I think we live in our head all the time. On our phone, we have we're on our computer. You go for a run, you listen to a podcast for some music, you go take a dump, you look at YouTube videos, and we're like overstimulating our brain all the time. We swim in dopamine all the fucking time. Every time that we pick up our phone, we have a dopamine rush, and dopamine is the reward enzyme in your brain, and we become addicted to that. And that's why all the platforms are moving towards shorter form of videos, Reels, TikTok, YouTube, the shorts of YouTube, because every time you swipe, it's a dopamine. You have reward, bang, 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 bang. That's why you should never leave your children on TikTok, by the way. If they are like teenagers, like under teenager children on TikTok, man, you're going to create it's going to be a fucking disaster for sure. Anyways, that's it. Maybe we can talk about it after. So to go back to running, absolutely, that's my meditation. You can talk to my wife. If I don't go run for a day or two, I'm not that patient. I'm a little bit more grumpy, and yeah, definitely it's a meditation for me, absolutely. And I think it's part of it for a lot of runners. A lot of runners do it for the mind game. Like I was talking to a doctor this morning that we want to get on another podcast, and we were talking over the phone, and we're talking about ultra running, and I told him, I said, just thinking that you could do an ultra running, just thinking in your mind that an ultra marathon is something that you could achieve is already a win. Because there's so many people, the first thing they say is, oof, I could never do that. Right. I cannot run more than 10K. There's no way I can run an ultra. But if in your head, you're like, wait, 100 miles? Yeah. I'll give it a shot. Just that, it's such a win, because you can apply that in all your life. I want to start a business. No, me, I cannot start a business. I have a W-2 job. While others will say, I want to start a business. Yeah, hell yeah, I'm starting a business, So definitely the mind game in running is very, very interesting. I'm fascinated about the power of the mind over the body. Fascinated about that. It's crazy how that mind that we over-identify to is something flexible, that you can remodel, that you can shape, as long as you understand that the mind is not fixed and can be moved around. I recently
read the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Exactly.
Amazing. It's what we're capable of as human beings, and the limit that we have is self-imposed. We're putting these dividers down. We can only get to a specific point because we can't imagine us going a step further than whatever it was. And one thing that we say on Building Men is go a step further than you thought you could go. And then once you take that step further, you've broken past that barrier. Now you can take another step further. And that's the magic that happens there, is when you go a step further than you thought you can go, and you're breaking down a lot of those self-limiting beliefs that you had. And I'm sure one thing that you hear from people as well is when they're saying they can do something, but I wanna go and run, but my foot is sore. I want to go and run, but, or they're putting that word there will stop them from doing something.
Yeah, and but don't go together. Never. They don't fit together. It's either yes or no. It's either let's go for a run. Yeah, but my knees. No. The yeah part is you want to go. There's a desire to do it. And the but is the mind that is kicking back and say, no, you're not that guy. Let's start a business. That idea you have, start a business. Yeah, but I have a W-2 job. Yeah, I want to take control of my life. Yeah, I want to impact the world. Yeah, but no, you're not that guy. You're the W-2 job guy. Okay? It's either yes, now, what do I need to do? Because if you want to start a business, you cannot start a business from one day to the other. So you say, yeah, now, what do I need to do? I need to do a business plan. I need to make a phone call. I need to blah, 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 blah. Or no, and it's okay. Do you want to go for a run? No. Great. I'll go alone. And people all the way are juggling in conflict like that all the time. All the time. It's insane. One day I told one of my friends, a parent of... that I have here, she runs a little bit, and me, I don't care. Like I'm gonna go for a run for a mile with someone. I don't give a shit. I don't need to go ultra run all the time. I really don't mind about the length of the run. And I'm like, let's go for a run Wednesday morning. Called me, yeah, sorry I cannot come for the run. Blah 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 blah. blah. I was like, no worries, I'll go. So in the afternoon, we saw each other picking up the kids. I'm so sorry. It's because the work and blah, 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 blah. And because yesterday I went to work late, and then in the morning my son was a little bit that, and then pa. And I told her, I said, you know what? I think you should not run. You should just do the finding excuses fitness, because you're wasting more energy at finding excuses than actually going out for the run. You know what I mean? I don't care. You just say no. Don't shove all the excuses up my throat. I don't give a fuck. It's yes or no. Yeah. That's it. Yes. Oh no, I'm sorry, Mark. I cannot make it. I'll explain you later. And no worries. Like it doesn't matter. But there's some people that, and I know her. She's just the professional of bringing excuses all the time. And we're good at finding excuses. We're really good. We're really, really good at that.
Especially when you add in that yeah part. So you're in your mind, you're thinking, I'm the type of person that would do whatever it is. Yeah, I would love to run. And then when you put the but in, you're identifying, I am that type of person, but there's an external factor that exists that's out of my control, that's not allowing me to do whatever. Once you remove that, and either just own the yes or the no. No, I'm not going for a run today. That's it. I would respect that more than yeah, and it's that wishy-washy kind of thing. Yeah. It's the language that we're using when we're speaking to ourselves in our own head. And you mentioned before, the meditative part of running is it's not it's shutting that shit off. One thing that I loved, I was listening to the podcast, the Construct Your Life podcast. I'll give Austin Lenny a shout out. It cracked me up. You were talking to him as you're coaching him through his, what he's working on with his own brand. And basically you told him, sit on the couch and shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up for five minutes. And hearing you say that to him, like I speak to him frequently, it cracked me up. I can't wait to talk to him about that comment that I heard.
That is exactly why I don't think I could be a good life coach. That's exactly why. Because I would take the client and I will just listen to all the mind noise and all that shit, and I will say, hey, look, man, just shut the fuck up. Like really, train yourself to shut the fuck up twice a day at least. 5 minutes. And actually anyone that is listening to this podcast, just do it. In the morning, take 5 minutes for yourself, sit down on the fucking toilet, no phone, nothing, close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out. if you have some thoughts coming in, let them out. It's okay. Just breathe in, breathe out. No need to do mala mala and fucking whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
No need. And you do it twice a day. Because what's going to happen is you're going to retrain your mind how it feels to be calm. We live in a world where we're constantly stimulated by everything. Your mind is always going at 10,000 miles an hour. Your mind wants to go as fast as your fucking phone, you know? So your mind doesn't know what it feels to be calm. Your mind doesn't know how to not be stressed. That's why also there's a lot of people, whatever is going to happen to them, they're going to be stressed out about it. Hey, you won $1 million. For real? Hey, you cannot pay your bills at the end of the month. Yeah, same reaction. Fucking same reaction. Because their brain, their mind is just used to read life with stress. And stress is fast food. Literally like something very easy to put it in your mind and your mind digest it like blah, 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 and there's no nutrients in there. There's nothing helpful in stress, you know? So yeah, absolutely. I think shut the fuck up twice a day for 5 minutes can literally change your life with nothing, with no help of music. Don't just sit there. You know, don't even call it meditation. Don't even go there. Just shut the fuck up.
I think it's worth a side business for you too. It could be the quickest coaching calls. It would be a 30-second coaching call. What's your issue? They start talking. You tell them shut the fuck up. Call me back tomorrow. You can make millions.
Well, probably there's a lot of gurus that made a lot of millions with that because it's the idea that's it. No, but for real, like. You want to talk about religion, you know? What Jesus said, God's kingdom is inside you, something like that. You know what I mean? Well, absolutely, yes. Shut the fuck up. Shut it. Of course, God will fucking shine out of your eyes and you're going to be bright and all that. Shut it. Shut your mind. There's another guru that said, God is you without you. You know, if you sit down for 5 minutes and you take a distance from yourself, which means just observing your emotion. Oh, I'm having a thought right now. Oh, I feel anxious. I'm not comfortable. My chair is not comfortable. I have a rib that is poking me a little bit. And breathe in, breathe out, and just observing. Then this distance that you make towards yourself, all right, becomes yourself. And you will see that whatever person that you think you are will vanish slowly. You will stop fighting for everything. Your ego will dissolve slowly by just shutting up like 5 minutes a day, you know? There's another guru that said, find the sufferer and suffering will disappear. Find the sufferer and the suffering will disappear. Because if you're just suffering, which means that you're stressed out, and you never take a step back, where's the camera? Here. You know, if you never take a step back and observe that chatter, oh, I'm stressed out, oh, I'm overthinking everything, oh shit. Then of course you identify to the stressed out mind. You think stress is you. So you need to step back and observe yourself. And from the observer, there's no suffering because there's just observation of whatever occurs in your mind, you know? And I definitely think that if the world was doing that every day, oh my God, we'll be in a happy, hippie place for sure.
You mentioned the technology piece as well. People are so enamored with their technology and they're connected to it. As a principal, I remember talking to teachers think about like people's personal space. You know, when, you know, depending on your relationship with different people, you allow people closer or further away from your personal space where you have this level of comfort around you. And at the time I was talking about adolescents, their phone is attached to them in a way where if it's on a table and you go to grab for it, you've entered their personal space. It's an affront on them as a human being where you are in their personal space bubble. And I would argue that most people are like that now. Most people have their phones that is an extension of themselves in their personal space. Last weekend I was on vacation and I basically said I am going to go on like a detox from technology for several days. And it was such a game changer for me not to constantly have information just spoon-fed to me. It let me take a step back and think thoughts that I hadn't thought in a while. I did this deep dive into, again, taking that step back and observing that player who was on the puppet strings in front of me, and I was like, that's what's been going on in my life, and I'm going to do that once a week now, just to take a day away from it. It was such a healthy experience for me. But how do you? And I know you believe that's something you absolutely believe in, but in your world as a digital marketing coach, how would you tell people to go about doing that in an efficient way, knowing people still need to have that technology as part of their livelihood and their business, to be active on social media, but still taking time for themselves, taking a step back? So what advice would you give to someone in that capacity?
Look, first you need to accept that social media is part of our life. That's it. That's all. There's no true reality. There's a lot of people that say there's the real world and there's the fake world on social media. No. It's one thing, which is called life. Okay, and now we have social media and that big thing that is called life. Of course, because of the addiction, because of the dopamine rush that you have every time you pick up your phone, of course you need to take some breaks. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just one day. Like for personally, on Sunday, for example, I tend to not work, not touch my phone, or touch my phone the least as possible. I do activities with my family and all that, and I try to do that once a day, that I really discipline myself to not do it. However, if you're someone like me and you manage 10 Instagram accounts, and you're building websites and you're building templates for micro content, and you're doing video editing and all that, I think that to simply find ways to be fully present when you're not with your phone is the key. So I might be on my phone 5-6 hours a day, but I don't think my twins notice it, because when I'm playing with my twins, I'm playing with my twins. Put the phone down, and when I talk to my twins, I talk to my twins. I'm with them. When I cook, I cook. I might cook something, pick up my phone after, but I'm not constantly doing both. Phone cooking, phone playing, phone. So to learn to be present without the phone in life, I think is going to be the key to create a better world for sure, and deal better with this new technology. Yeah, absolutely. Probably we could say discipline.
You've given us so many great, even one-liners. I can't wait to cut this up and just pull some, again, to post on Instagram, some one-line clips from this. They're really impressive, and I've taken so much out of our conversation about your journey. One thing that I'd love to know, though, is what is your how would you go about defining masculinity? Because Building Men, we're on this journey together of trying to figure out what it means to be a man. It's this ambiguous idea that people have ideas of what a man should look like, should sound like, should feel like. There's all these terms being thrown around, toxic masculinity, and what we're trying to do is figure out what masculinity is. And as I'm talking to you, I am like, this is a fucking masculine man in front of me. How would you go about defining that term? What does masculinity mean to you?
Masculine. Okay. What does it mean to be a man? For me, it's misleading. The question is misleading. Because I think if you say, what does it mean to be a man? You start an identification process with your genitals. You're basically saying, you're basically saying, what does it mean to have a dick in 2021? You know what I mean? So to me, as long as you will identify with the fact that you're a man, and only a man, you will limit your being. The real question is, how do you become a better person? how can you be more present? That's to me is a more relevant question, and that I think that if we would ask that question, how can we be more present, a lot of conflict will disappear, you know. And one thing we need to keep in mind when we talk about masculinity is that's why I really love your podcast, because it takes a lot of courage to ask those questions in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we have the feminists did their job. We have modern feminism, the Me Too movement and all that thing, and it's great. However, if you're a man and you dare saying, hey, that we stopped raping women like 50 years ago. Did you know that? Are you aware that you're about to be 40, probably you're around that? So I hope you're aware that probably that your parents are the fruit of rape. Your grandfather didn't know what a clitoris was, man. He didn't know that.
Right.
We weren't educating men at that time. We didn't talk about that. So, and that's really dramatic, because we basically stopped raping women very recently. So the question, what does it mean to be man, is relevant a little, in our society, I think. But because the whole identification to our genitals is just wrong, you know what I mean? We're blending into two worlds, like, are you really a man? Are you really a woman? What does it mean to be a woman? Does it mean something? Does it, you know what I mean? And so I think what does it mean to be a man in 2021? Yeah, I would say it's a bit misleading, and the question should be a little deeper than that. But we need to go into that route. We need to ask those questions in order to get to a deeper level.
So I'll rephrase it slightly then, with the idea that if you're taking manhood away from the word masculinity, and it doesn't necessarily mean that being masculine has to be associated with your genitalia.
Yeah,
there is, and one thing that I've definitely learned over the last year, Mark, is that there's this balance between masculine and feminine energy, and I feel like I have more masculine energy than feminine energy. My brother, who's not here with me today, he's like me, 6'4". He's a just a physical specimen. But he has more feminine energy. The way that he shows up is more, and so there's this kind of yin and yang kind of balance that goes on. There are times that women will have to take on more of a masculine type role in the way that they're showing up. So they might operate more in a masculine space for a period of time. But I believe that men typically are more in a masculine role, and that's me where I would fall into. That's my go-to. But there will be times that you definitely feel that feminine energy. So what are traits that you would say are associated with masculine energy? So it doesn't necessarily have to be a man, but for positive masculine energy to be present, what do you need to demonstrate? What are certain character traits that would be associated with positive masculine energy?
Positive masculine energy. Can I talk about fatherhood?
Absolutely.
Because I think it's linked, you're a father, you're a man, and I've recently realized that being a father doesn't mean shit. Like, literally, it doesn't mean shit. Because I'm reading books about, becoming a better dad, and what does it mean to be a dad, and it's linked to, what does it mean to be a man. And I just realized that it doesn't mean anything to be a parent. The right mindset to me is you need to be an inspiring figure for your children, but also recognize that your children can be an inspiring figure for you. And that's how you create a creative, you're creating some sort of a creative circle, where one admire the other and vice versa. And if you fully accept that your role as a parent is to inspire your children, then you need to work on yourself, listening to your gut feeling, listening to what you want for yourself in life, what you need to be happy. And if you're in harmony with that, with yourself, automatically your children will be inspired by that, and vice versa. If you create a fertile soil for your children, then your children will teach you stuff about life. My children today, I ask them exactly the question. Okay, they're 8 years old, about to be 9, and I say, I'm going on a podcast today, and it's called Building Men. What do you mean, building men? I say, yeah, we talk about the meaning of being a man. And so I asked them, for you, is there a difference between a boy and a girl? And they said, no. I said, yeah, but the boys are playing with boys at school, huh? And the girls are playing with girls. And they were like, no. People that love to play football, they play football together. People that love to play with little dolls, they play with little dolls. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I play, that's one of my twins told me, like sometimes I play with my little toys with boys, it doesn't matter. And I was like, oh shit, we're really entering into that future generation that is coming will not identify as much as us to their genitals, I think. Same thing with race. Like I remember when they were 4, they were going at the daycare at in Vegas, and they were always talking about that William kid, that William, because he was the naughty little boy in the class, And William, and one day I go pick them up and I say, hey, who's William? And they pointed, it was the guy with the blue shirt. He said, the guy with the blue shirt over there. And he was a black kid. But in their mind, it's not a black kid, it's a kid with a blue t-shirt. And I think same thing applies with sexuality, with the identification to their gender. And I think that will dissolve slowly, and we're going to be more focused on the requirements of, being a good human being, which start by being present, fully present.
Right. I think it's such a great point. One thing that's happened in society over the past, even 10 years or so, is there's definitely been more acceptance with, gender fluidity, all just things that were not in the norm specifically for such a long period of time. I remember when I'm growing up, I'm 44 now. I remember when I was growing up, a lot of the things that my children just accept as that's part of the way it is. There are people that are gay. There are people that are. It's part of what they just know to be true right now, and it is refreshing that there's not this categorization of people. I remember growing up and trying to figure out what boxes I fit into, which categories did I fit into. First, you would categorize things. So this is a white kid, this is a black kid, this is a boy, this is a girl. So you would put things into these boxes, and then which box do I fit into? All right, I'm a white boy. I am tall. Yeah. I'm an athlete. So I put myself into these boxes. But then as you get older, you start to look around and say, wait a second, I put myself in this box, but I believe shit that's in this box too. How does that work? How does that fit in? And it's
it's the mind.
Yes.
The mind want to identify. It's just the mind is just another organ in your body. Yeah? It's just a tool. Your mind,
yep.
As much as your hand is a tool. That's it. The only thing is we live in a society where we identify to whatever ideas we have, and the mind loves to put stuff in.
Yeah.
The mind loves to do that. And what's interesting is now people don't really know in which box to put me. I really have a great time telling what do I do for a living, because I'm a runner, I'm a digital marketer, but also I'm an artist, and it's so funny to see how difficult it is to put a tag on me. I love it. Because the more you become yourself, less you will find tags to put on yourself, or less you will find a need to put a tag on yourself. And you will just stop. Yeah.
Or to care what other people put a tag on you. I don't give a fuck now what people tag me as. There was such a long time in my life, Mark, that I was so worried about what I thought people thought about me. Again, back to that white picket fence and the fork. I was worried about what other people thought, and I'm at a spot now. If you don't like me, that's you. That's totally on you. It has nothing to do with me. Your thoughts on me. So being able to get enough space away from worrying about what other people think about you as well, and seeing your mind as an organ that can work for you, not you're a slave of that organ in your body.
Exactly. And it's great that as a coach you understood that, because you have a serious job, you know. You take people one-on-one, or sometimes you coach, you know, group of people, and that's a key element. Besides giving them some mind tricks and hack and how they can improve their life and develop the right mindset, I think the first thing people need to realize, and you realized it, obviously, you are not the mind. The mind is just a tool, because if you can observe yourself, then who's observing what? You know what I mean? So that example at the beginning that you were talking about, you look at yourself in the mirror and all that.
Yeah.
You woke up to your true identity, and that's why it's super important that you keep working and helping people like you do right now, which you know, you're having incredible results, you know, and I think it's really, your mission is really, really important that you keep doing that, for sure.
I appreciate that. And I feel like your journey as well, I've been following along with what you're doing, and you've been inspiring me. And I mentioned at the beginning, I felt like I had known you already as we sat down to talk today, based on me watching you and your little video clips on Instagram. And you're making a difference in a lot of people's lives by how you are communicating with them and helping people understand the mindset, to understand the importance of, you know, going that step further than you thought you can go. It's such an important part of life, and I truly appreciate you taking the time today, Marc, to chat with me for a little bit longer than an hour, almost an hour and a half. Shit, we went a little bit longer. Yeah, it was one of those conversations I didn't want to end. So, Marc, tell the Building Men audience how they can get in touch with you, how they can find you and follow along on your journey.
They can click on the link probably below that you will see in the description.
Yes.
On the show notes or wherever. If not, if they want to remember, www.stupidsimpledigitalmarketing.com. That's my agency's website. But if not, come and say hi on Instagram and ask question and you know. So yeah, cool. Thank you for having me. You're having a wonderful show. And I hope that if the people made it that far into this podcast, they'll take the time to comment something on Apple Podcast, because that could really help you, and to grow your podcast, because I think it's very, very important.
Appreciate that.
Small action. It takes, you know, guys, it takes like, 10 seconds to go, rate it, open the thing, rate it, 5 stars, 4. We'll accept a 4. Let's make it 4 because I have a difficult English to understand.
I'm going with 5. I thought this was a 5 episode. I'm gonna stick with 5, just because of the shut the fuck up part. That turned it over for me. That was a big difference. So you can we'll put everything in the show notes. Find Building Men on Instagram, building.men. All the information will be in the show notes, and reach out to me on email, buildingmencoach@gmail.com. Marc Picard, thank you so much, my friend. I'm glad to have met you over the last hour or so. If I'm ever in Spain, I would love to go for a jog with you. Just run Absolutely. Up and down a hill. I don't know about 6,000 miles, but we'll run a little bit.
Whatever.
Whatever it is.
Whatever you want.
We'll run it.
Whatever you want.
We'll run and we'll have a beer afterwards.
Perfect.
For the Building Men audience, go a step further than you thought you can go today. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time on Building Men.